Great. You want to pick somebody else?
Yeah, sure, Will. What do you got?
Yeah, how do you think about distributing opportunity amongst reps of different caliber? So a lot of different ways to split up a sales team by geography, territories, whatever.
Yeah.
The most experienced people are the ones that usually have the highest close rates, but then you wind up having the distribution of closes focused on the most experienced reps. So how do you think about balancing giving people opportunity versus potentially sacrificing the revenue based on that opportunity?
That's a good question.
So how do you break up the regions? How do you break up the teams and what they work on versus the people who are top performers versus the people who need the experience? How do you balance the team, where they're working and what areas they're focused on? Is that a good summary?
Or even within, once you've defined those areas, how do you think about distributing leads, especially inbound leads?
Yeah.
Or once you've carved out the areas, how do you figure out which reps to work on those areas now that you've established them?
So I think you want to do it fairly. Right, it sounds like obvious, but it's like really hard to do because that becomes an excuse for all the other reps when they perceive that it could not be fair. So there's a whole bunch of stuff we can talk about on how to specialize your team. Like, do you do it by geographic territory? Do you do it by customer size? Do you do it by vertical? Do you do it by the product you're selling? I've seen all be implemented, and for various contexts, they're all partially correct. I think there is a little bit of a industry bias toward geographic territories because that's where the industry came from, where you had salespeople knocking on doors. And with a growth in inside sales, I think not all the time they have to move to a geographic territory. I might want to specialize our sales reps more by the buyer pattern, the buyer context, as opposed to where they actually live. But I think what you're asking the question too is, can you distribute more leads or better leads to your best people? You can't really. You've got to get your new people a fair shot. Otherwise your best people they might get a little lazy because they're getting the best leads, and you don't even get a fair perspective that these new people might actually be better than them. Most organizations get over that by introducing an SMB team, a mid-market team, an enterprise team, and they may associate their enterprise leads as being the best, and the SMB team's leads being, less than par. And when you start out there, you start them on the SMB team and then graduate up. That's one way that people do it. But in general, when you're carving up territories, you just have to really make sure it's fair to avoid a cultural nightmare.